and welcome back to season, I don't know, of the Slumber Party podcast, where we record a lot and then we take big breaks because our life is happening. So I don't actually know what season this is, but we're back. It's new. It's fresh. And I'm here today with my co-host, Liza. Hello, Liza.
Hello.
How are you?
I think it's season 4, actually.
I think it's more than that.
Okay, maybe it's more.
It's more. I think that last year we're going to do it every week, but I think that's impossible. And even my favorite podcast takes breaks. So until I'm not in school and until this podcast delivers a dump truck of money to my house, there'll be breaks.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. That's
I'll be on every episode.
Yeah. Of our houses. I mean, our collective houses.
Yes.
Imagine if it was no, it's just my money. And then when we came to record, I was just counting money physically.
Oh, you're a sharer. I know.
I am a sharer. Today, I'm super excited to have former client / current certification member. You're not really a student. You're a member.
A graduate?
Graduate. Yes. Thank you. There we go. Phoebe. Hi, Phoebe. How are you?
Hi. I am good. Thank you. I am so excited to be here.
I am so excited that you are here because Phoebe is the first person to do anything. So Phoebe was a client, 2020?
2021 when Jasper, my son, was 6 months old, right when he turned 6 months. Mm-hmm.
Yes, that's right. That's crazy. And I remember us having these so Jasper took to everything super well. And then the remaining portions of our calls that we had scheduled, we just talk about life.
Yeah, that's exactly what
what's going on? How are you? And I remember you being oh, I'm so interested in this. And I had this program in my pocket, brewing for a while. And I remember when I kind of put it out there for my beta testing thing, you were the first person to sign up. Hold on, I'm just going to pause this. Okay, so basically I'm on Instagram and I put out, who wants to train? Because this is the thing. I started the program because everyone kept asking me where I trained. Well, how do you do it? And I was like, oh, I feel like I could do this really well. And then so I put it out and you were the first person to be hi, me, hi. And then you're the first person to sign up for the program. You have never missed a live session ever. And you were the first person to sign up for the conference, the first conference, now that we have a whole bunch of people. You're thank you for choosing me. I'm you're the first person I thought of. Yeah, exactly.
You're the target audience.
When I commit to something, I just commit to it and do it and go for it.
Agreed. So I guess, and we were kind of just talking about this before we were recording. The reason why I wanted to do this is now a big part of Baby's Best Sleep. People are thinking about doing this work or adding to their own qualifications. People, the typical applicant right now seems to be someone who's already working in childcare, maybe in the childcare setting, or they're a nanny. We have mental health support workers who want to add this to their current practice. And then we have people who are just obsessed with sleep like I was and want to keep doing it. And when we get into the conversation, when we're having our interview and going through the application process, they always sort of say, well, how are your graduates doing? And truth be told, we're just coming up to a year now of my first group. We're working on our third group now. I want to I don't want to speak for you. I'd like someone who did the program to kind of talk about it. So then I can be hey, listen to this podcast with this person. And I am not paying you and I didn't tell you what to say. In fact, we've talked about the lack of preparation for today.
Yeah.
Already. You're what are you going to say? I'm oh, I should have sent you that. So tell me a little bit about why you applied and how's it going?
Sure. I applied. It was kind of spur of the moment. When I had worked with you, you had changed my and my family's life so quickly. And to be honest, it kind of blew us away. We were so unbelievably tired. And my son started sleeping amazingly in 3 nights after having not slept literally for the whole 6 months of his life up until that point. So it was just such a life-changing experience. And I have a high needs daughter who really requires a lot of support. So my job in marketing, where I had worked for the past, decade, just wasn't really reasonable anymore because I needed to be able to, visit appointments and take her to therapies and do all these things. And I needed a really, really flexible lifestyle. So when you announced that you were putting on this certification program, it was like a light bulb went off in my head. And I was like, wait, this is what I'm supposed to do. And I think we even talked about it before you announced that you were doing this when I was your client. And I was asking
I didn't want to say that because I was like, are Phoebe's like past employers listening to this? But you were like, I'm not going back to my job. I was like, oh, okay.
Maybe. But yeah, so we were talking about it then. And I was so interested because it was such a truly life-changing experience for me. And I was like, wow, could I do this for other people? And turns out I can.
Totally.
So it was kind of a leap of faith. Joined the certification program, went through the program. It was great. I felt like I learned absolutely everything I needed to know in order to do this myself. But then once it was over, I needed to continue putting in the work and kind of hustle a little bit and put myself out there because, I can slap a website up online and I can open an Instagram account and hope that people are going to find it and hope that people are just going to go onto my website and book calls, but that's not really the way it works, right? So
I wish. Can you imagine? Right? That would be so wonderful. And I feel like, Liza, you're on the other side of this.
Well, how wonderful it would be to match up a personality, it's like, oh, I think I like Phoebe. Here's her Instagram account. Just there needs to be a better way to find people, but there really isn't. So yeah, the hustle is real.
Yeah.
Well, and I think this is everyone. If again, I'm thinking, what does the average applicant want to know? On the other side, or even just people who are curious, right? I had someone, I do this anonymous question. By the way, oh my God.
I know. Sorry. I want to hear all the juicy questions you get asked.
People ask such great questions. So I try not to do the question box anymore because people know that I can see who sends them. But when people don't know, they ask good questions, juicy questions about themselves that are kind of that we get from everyone, right? Yeah. So someone sent me, okay, so I'm showing you on the screen. When this program will send you questions sometimes, it'll say send with love from this. So it's from the program, right? And then someone said this. There's nothing there. You see it. Mm-hmm. Someone wrote me, I find you incredibly sexy. This is not a question. I just want you to know. I don't know what to say.
It was me.
Was it you?
No.
I was like, for sure it's one of my friends. For sure. Anyway, it made my day.
Confidence booster. Yeah. Damn.
No, I don't care. If it was you, thank you so much. Yeah, this almost 40-year-old woman needed that little pep. Why I'm bringing this up is because people are so free to speak. As per this message, this woman or someone wrote me, thanks for all the rah-rah, girl boss bullshit, but how can I just work for you? I was like, first of all, I've never used the term girl boss, literally ever. Thank you. But it's one of it. I think people hope that they can kind of just slip into maybe another company, which can happen. But if you're doing that, there are generally other things to consider.
Mm-hmm.
But I also think that like what people really want to know is like, okay, anyone can complete a certification. Like I got my teaching degree. Anyone can go get that degree. Are you going to get a job after? And I think that like when I'm on my calls and interviews with my folks, I'm so honest with them. Like, I don't know. Like, I'm going to mentor you and I'm going to tell you every single thing I think that you can be doing and should be doing. And if you want to workshop something with me, if you want to go through anything with me, I'll do that. But in the end, all of those things come back to you. Like, if I think about my teaching degree, who was I talking to about this recently? I was talking to another teacher. Oh, I know. It's one of our certification members who's also a teacher. And we were kind of talking about at the time that we became teachers, and Liza, you'll remember this, there was no jobs. There was nothing. There was I remember buying a printer with a fax machine capability because there was a day that if you wanted a job, you had to fax your resume to all of the schools directly. And then you sat waiting for a call and they would call you that day. And so I had someone call me that day for an interview. I was in the middle of a nannying job. I'm like, I'm nannying. And they're like, then the job's not yours. It was like that hardcore. And that I ended up getting a job, but I couldn't have got that job if I didn't sit on my floor faxing out stuff and getting the work done. So there's a lot that I can do, but I love why I wanted you on here specifically is because you are someone who shows up to our live mentoring sessions. So we have these monthly meetings where we all get together and we talk about what's going well and we learn something about baby sleep. And Phoebe always shows up with her like, this is the weird shit I did this month to like get myself noticed. And I love that. And I want you to kind of like talk about that experience a little bit.
Sure. So like if I just want to caveat this by saying, if I can do this, truly anyone can do it.
Yeah.
There is nothing special about me. The only thing I can say that I'm doing consistently is putting myself out there. So Amanda, I think you'll remember we talked about this right when I launched Slumber and Shine. And I was like, okay, at least once a week, I want to do something that makes me very uncomfortable. So whether that be hosting free workshops, going to networking events where I know not one single person, showing up at baby groups and just talking about myself, going on social media. Social media, I find quite stressful, putting myself out there, talking to the camera. Like, I don't know when I'm ever going to feel comfortable doing that. But I just told myself, you know what? You're just going to do it. And the only way it's going to get comfortable is if you just continue doing it. And that is literally the only difference in my strategy. And it's worked because I have a real live full-time business
in less than a year. Let's just say that.
I think we're at like 6 months. 6 months, 7 months. Yeah.
It's wild. And like Phoebe is, sorry, Liza?
So with 2 kids.
Yes. A 2-year-old and a 3-year-old. I spend a lot of time in front of my computer at 5 a.m. like a lunatic.
Yeah. That's so interesting, you know, like the concept of just doing the uncomfortable thing is just such a great thing to get comfortable with. Like I tell that to my kids. I tell myself that, you know, I let you in on a little secret that despite how gorgeous I look all the time, today was my very first time working out in a long time. And it's just like, just do the thing. Do the thing that you don't want to do. Do the uncomfortable thing. Yeah.
And I think also doing the thing for a while before you see the results. Because I think when you're building a business, it takes time. So especially at the beginning, I had to put myself out there many times before seeing the results of putting myself out there. But it did come. It just wasn't, you know, it's not like I went to one networking event and then the next day had a full client load, right?
I remember going, so I totally identify with that. And actually, I think your start is actually a lot more like shiny and fabulous than mine. Like mine was like, I finished my training in May, and it was like May, June, July, I think. I was so dead and I was hustling and I was like, oh my God, all I want to do. My goal was like, let's just see what happens. I just want to pay off my tuition. That's it. Like if I come out even from this, then I'll be happy. I had a bigger goal than that. I wanted to have my tuition paid by the time I started school in September. And it wasn't looking like that. Like we're in July and I was like, I'm having these discovery calls and people are like, okay, thanks. I like raised my prices. I lowered my prices. I like gave discounts. I'm doing everything and nothing is working. I'm calling people. And it just like, it felt really hard. And knowing on the other side, though, like especially speaking with other people who have started businesses, it takes a while. Like it really does. And I think that's the thing. I'm really honest with people that I didn't really make this a full-time thing for 2 years. It took me 2 years. It's not going to just happen. But when you're going through that, it can be really hard to keep going because there is a level of kind of rejection. There's a rejection on your discovery calls when your client doesn't hire you. There's a rejection in your like I remember I called all of these like baby stores, and it was like this, I had a lead at this one store and they're like, oh, you know what? We ended up going with someone who like came into the store to chat with us. And I was like, fuck, I should have done that. And there's just a lot of stuff that can really bring you down, but you have to keep going because it doesn't, like, no one's going to show up at your house to give you a business.
No, exactly.
Unless you're maybe like a Hilton or I don't know. Something. A Rogers family. I don't know. Yeah. Like then someone will show up at your house.
They'll just literally give you the business.
There's a business. Yeah. So, and then the other part too, I think that is always scary is I have like a very successful group of friends in the corporate world who don't jump on social media every day, right? And who aren't always like, hey, and then I am now all of a sudden being like, hi. And then you are at first like kind of marketing to your friends, like not MLM-y. It's just like who's following you. It's like your friends are like, oh, good for you. I'll follow you. And then they're like, oh my God, all this bitch talks about is baby sleep. And you're like, yeah, this is kind of what this is. Yeah. Sorry. That is kind of embarrassing and uncomfortable.
Yeah, totally. The social media, I'm not going to lie. Like, I mean, Instagram is going okay. It's going pretty well. I've gotten lots of clients just from like DMs on Instagram, but it is without a doubt, like really putting yourself out there. It
Truly.
is. It is. I had a little bit of a bad moment the other day. I'm trying to show parts of my, I have 2 young kids. I'm trying to show my family, like I'm a mom with little kids too. And I did a story about my daughter going on the school bus at the beginning of JK. She just started JK and she was wearing like a harness in the picture.
Yeah.
And I got so many DMs about it. So I just went on my story and I was like, yeah, she's autistic. She's wearing a harness. So when she's on the school bus, she's like, it's like a car seat for the school bus. Yeah. She's 3 years old, right?
Yeah.
I had dozens and dozens and dozens of people unfollow me that day. And it like hurt my soul. Like I cried.
Of course.
So that's a little sad story, but it's hard. It's hard putting I think sometimes, and I do this too, like you forget that the people behind, especially when you're talking about small businesses, those people are real people, right? So,
here's the thing. And by the way, if you're listening to this, we're going to go follow Phoebe right now. What's your Instagram?
I literally picked up my phone to follow.
Just at Slumber and Shine.
At Slumber and Shine?
Yep.
Find her right now. I'm going to go and activate my old personal account just to give it a little follow. But I think that I'm coming on the other side of this because I came up at a time on Instagram where it was kind of like when it wasn't the same as TikTok. It wasn't as new as TikTok, but there was possibilities for growth on Instagram that could be organically based. And then Instagram really changed, bought out by Facebook, I think in the first year that I was on Instagram as a business. And then it was really pay to play. It's very much like collaborative, and it's very, it's a business. It's its own business, and we are the product. So it's hard to bitch about Instagram. So even when people are on the phone with me about this, they're like, do I have to be an influencer? And I'm like, I wouldn't actually put all your eggs in that basket. No. I mean, it's a tool, but I wouldn't do that. And I think that what I've learned over time is people don't want to be there for you, or like the average follower doesn't want to be there for you when you're winning, and they don't want to be there for when you're losing. And there's this weird thing about that. People don't want to see people do well, which is a very surprising thing for me. I'm spitting all over myself, but it's a weird, I'm not talking about you or I'm talking about the average person. If I am celebrating a win, actually, I lose the most followers on days where I have my most popular posts.
Interesting.
Isn't that interesting? And it's because, number one, probably what happened, this is what I'm guessing what happened. Instagram does not show you to all of your followers all the time. You're probably shown to about, however, a certain percentage of your followers. I think it's 5 or 10% consistently. Then you posted this thing where a lot of people wrote back to you to say, hey, so now Instagram says, oh, she just posted something that's really interesting.
Yeah.
And so we're going to show this to all of these people. So now your audience went from 10% to, let's say, 30 or even 40%. Then all of those people who have kind of forgotten about you are like, oh, why am I following her? And then they unfollowed. That's what I really think that happens.
Yeah. And I also know, it's just Instagram. If they don't want to follow me, I don't want to follow them. I don't want them to follow me. You know what I mean?
Literally. But I don't need that juju.
It's just easier said than done,
yeah,
right?
it's just when you're moments where you're like, okay, I'm putting myself out here. Is there a reason? And then I've had so many, I honestly have had some excellent connections via Instagram. I've some great clients from there, just other connections with other business owners and things like that. So there's lots of positives, but there's always going to be, negatives towards constantly putting yourself out there.
100%. Yeah. So, okay, you're getting out there, you're hustling, you're getting clients. If you were someone who's if you were to give your past self advice or a new person advice on what's the best way or what's the most consistent way for you that you found that gets you clients and gets yourself out there?
So the number one thing for clients is doing a great job for your current clients.
Oh my God,
then
Phoebe?
They will give you to their friends. That is it.
I just got the fucking chills that you said that. I always say this. People always say, oh, there's so much competition. There's so much. Do you know how much competition there was 5 years ago? There was a ton. There were I can think of off the top of my head that I knew of 5 really high profile consultants in the GTA. And I always say the only reason that I am where I am is because I was really fucking intentional in doing a really good job.
Yeah.
And I truly believe that if you are good at this and you are making those client connections, you don't have to work a day in your life in your marketing, because everyone around you will work for you. They will talk about you, and it doesn't matter, like, you know, there are providers who have their entire fees covered because they're a mental health provider or a healthcare worker, but I wouldn't hire them if I heard that they were shit.
Yes.
I would pay out of my own pocket to make sure that my kid is sleeping.
Yes.
There is not anything. When a parent is tired and exhausted, if a referral is strong, they will move heaven and earth to make it happen. I am not covered. I am expensive, and I am booked out for 8 weeks right now.
Yeah.
Like, it's because I care. You're so right.
And that's why I found getting the first like 10 or 20 clients was the hardest. But now the majority of my clients are their friends.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So you just need to do a good job.
Sometimes I want to be clear. Hi, Henrik. It's okay. This is a family-friendly podcast. He's like dying. Oh, he left.
Breakfast.
Aww.
That's what you get with an almost 13-year-old.
Damn it. Well, I was like, Liza had kids at like 25, 26, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like I was just drunk.
Me too.
And I could have been investing.
Like I was so tired. I was like, what? Hello.
I was in Australia living like my life, and you were having kids, investing into your now, because no one's bringing me breakfast.
And now I'm drunk all the time, you guys.
See? The way life is, right? I totally believe that. I totally believe that with all my heart. And I think that you need to put in, like, a big thing that we focus on in this program. I call it the R factor. And it's a set of, like, when I was doing this program, the person who helped me kind of design it, like put all my insane thoughts into something that makes sense. She asked me, like, what's your differentiator? And I was like, oh, I think that there are like 5, and they all started with an R. And so it's respecting your client, having a good referral base, making sure that you have reviews, being responsible, right? Like, these are things that every time a client hires you, they are saying, I trust you. And I really take that seriously, because they could go with anyone else. They could do anything with anyone else. And every time, like, I am 5 years into this, I've worked with thousands of people. I am still so tickled when someone picks me, and I really take it seriously. And I feel like that is, it's like the heart of your business will always be there, right? Like, if you are on the phone with a consultant or any provider for that matter, and you're not totally in love with them, I would, like, even if they're a referral, then I feel like you got to, like, get out of there. Like, and I think that's so, oh my God, I love that you said that, because I always say that. It's just being good at your job.
Yeah. And caring. People are trusting you with their family's sleep. Like, there's not many things that are more important or more, like, personal than that.
Yes.
Right?
And they're babies. Yeah. They're little babies. Yeah, I know. Exactly. I think
and
about this
especially
all
when there's
the time.
So much misinformation and just, like, polarizing opinions about helping your children sleep and, you know, having a routine that way. So I feel like, you know, the trust that they place in you, I know for sure with Amanda, like, how seriously she takes that, and you're there to ease all those worries, right? And it's exactly what you're saying. It's that service that you provide that it just changes people's lives.
It really does.
And, like, I mean, look at me. I always say this. Like, Amanda helped me with my third, even though I thought she was, like, just so perfect, and she slept. And then all of a sudden she's like, now.
I feel like that's every child. Every child has that story where they're like, I'm great. Like, my youngest, I was just telling someone this. I was kind of giving the example of, we think that our children are kind of static, right? They will act the same and like, great, they sleep through the night. This is it forever. It's like, well, no, they're going to change. They're going to grow and they're going to develop. And I always talk about my youngest, who's this sweet little chunky little thing that just slept and ate and and then literally she turned 3 and she was like, and we were all like, oh my god. And our nanny at the time was like, yeah, this is 3. This is what it's gonna be. And we're like, oh, okay, all right, no problem. Okay, we're coming to the end of this half hour, and I mean, this is that crap nap time. Oh, we're 30 minutes in now. Oh my god. Phoebe, if people want to hire you, where can they find you?
Oh, they can find me on my website, slumberandshine.ca. You can send me a message there or book a discovery call, or you can just follow me, send me a DM on Instagram. My handle is also slumberandshine.
Yay. And you can find Phoebe's website. We have a list of all of our graduates on our approved programs list on the Baby's Best Sleep website. So you can find her there. Phoebe, thank you so much. This is wonderful.
Thank you for having me. This was so much fun.
Yay. Fuck the Instagram haters.
Yeah, they're just like that bad friend you need to like. You needed to lose those, you know, like go away. Yeah, we don't have any space for you here in our
100%. And they were like unfollow. It's like unfollow.
Yeah,
Bye.
please do. Yeah, I know. I love it. I love it when people ask people to unfollow them after a controversial post. I'm always like, yeah, you tell them to unfollow you.
Just unfollow. If you don't like me, do you know how many things I'm just like, done. It's fine. It's good. We don't have to talk about it. Okay. Have a good one, everyone. Bye.